It's just
Real nice.
real nice.
Welcome to the $55 million mistake. Forest Fair Village, Forest Fair Mall, Cincinnati Mills Mall, or simply known as the Cincinnati Mall, or whatever you'd like to call this place because it has gone through a lot of name changes over the years. The only thing I can say for sure is that this place is huge and awesome. I loved this place. Put on your favorite pair of parachute pants, tease up that hair, and grab some popcorn because this one's going to be a long video. We're going to go over all the history and all my thoughts on this place and exactly what I experienced while I was here at the Cincinnati Mall. I first visited this mall back in November of 2018, and you're going to hear me refer throughout the video to this mall as the Cincinnati Mall, even though it's more popularly known as the Forest Fair Village. But it's currently called the Cincinnati Mall, so that's what I'm going to go with for the remainder of this video. The mall sits at the junction of Interstate 275 and Winton Road at exit 39. The mall would be built in phases, with the first phase featuring a Biggs and approximately 20 other stores, and would open on July 11th of 1988. There were initial plans to have a Higbee's department store at this mall, but that plan was withdrawn early because they were purchased by Dillard's that year. After many delays, Elder was confirmed as the second anchor to be added to the mall and would open with the second wing of the mall in October of 1988. By 1989, about one-third of the mall tenants were open, including Bowit Teller, B. Altman, Parisian, and the food court, as well as Elder Beerman. This mall was posed to be a retail destination, drawing people from all over the region. It included some weird things, like an Australian restaurant called Wallaby Bob's, a 1950s-styled cafe. I'm going to take a minute to pause here on the history of the mall, because I just wanted to say I think it was a great idea to put in all kinds of wacky restaurants and attractions. I mean, this mall is in a great location. It's right in the Cincinnati area, not too far from Dayton. Even, coming from places like Columbus or Indianapolis or even Louisville would be a max of 2 hours. And I think if they tried this again, it would probably make some traction, especially in today's world where all the malls are bland and boring and they're just duplicates of each other and things get over-malled and it's just boring. We need something interesting, and this place has the potential to be really interesting. This mall had many firsts, including the Wallaby Bob's restaurant, which was the first restaurant brewery in the nation to operate in a suburban shopping mall, while another tenant, Koala Clubhouse, was the first licensed daycare to be located in a shopping mall. But the most impressive and wacky tenant would be a 100,000 square foot entertainment complex called Time Out. It would feature a carousel, mini golf, and a small Ferris wheel. The Cincinnati Enquirer, a local newspaper, described the mall as entering uncharted waters. So I think this mall is in a great location, but at the same time, a terrible location. You see, with Tri-County Mall and Northgate Mall being so close, and this mall being in a blue-collar working-class area, it just can't really support a mall of this size. Now, why I say it's in a great area is because its physical location is great because it's close to other major markets like Dayton, Columbus, Indianapolis, and Louisville, all within a 2-hour drive. I think this mall needed to focus more on becoming an entertainment destination rather than putting in high-end retail which couldn't cater to the local blue-collar working class. And the clientele that would shop at higher-end stores is just going to end up going to nearby Kenwood, as it's probably closer to where they live anyway. And maybe I'm just really weird, but I would have made the extra drive to go to this mall rather than the one that was right down the street because of its crazy and wacky attractions. Having visited this mall several times and once more recently, I could envision this place as being another Mall of America, and it would be perfect, especially being all of the other markets that are surrounding Cincinnati that are within a 2-hour drive, like I mentioned before. An 8-screen movie theater called the Super Saver would be added to the mall for opening day. Well, and here's where we start running into some problems. Because if you're familiar with the area that this mall is in, it's more of a blue-collar, working-class area. And this mall was beginning to bring in high-end retail tenants. Stuff that would be unaffordable to the local blue-collar workers that are living nearby. The original owner of the mall was L.J. Hooker, and soon after the mall would open, they would file for bankruptcy due to the rising debt occurred by the company's expansion in the United States. The company would put up Forest Fair Village, or the Cincinnati Mall, in June of 1989 with an asking price of $200 million. Only 65% of the inline tenant mall space was occupied. Many would describe this mall as brand new and struggling. And like I said before, the nearby Tri-County and Northgate Mall were vying for the exact same retail space as this mall. It was just too many malls in too small of an area. And it's kind of funny looking at it now because all 3 of these malls are dead or dying. In 1990, the mall would finally be sold to a partnership called FFM Limited, headed by a group of banks which had loaned to L.J. Hooker most of the $250 million cost for construction. This mall is a fantastic example of the Mills Corporation at their finest. I absolutely loved the way this place looked, and even though it's been basically vacant for, I can't even tell you how long it's been vacant. Well, it really never was completely full to begin with. It's in remarkable condition. I mean, yeah, you'll see as we get inside, some of the ceiling is beginning to show its age, and there's some spots that need fixing up here and there. But overall, for being completely vacant, other than really 3 stores, I mean, it's pretty remarkable. Throughout the 90s, the mall would continue to struggle, gaining tenants and losing tenants, left and right. All that great stuff that makes a mall fail. Some of the more notable stores that would come and go throughout this mall's history would be the Bass Pro Shops, Burlington Coat Factory, Steinmart, which was temporarily in the mall as an outlet store. There would be Media Play, Saks Fifth Avenue, Steve & Barry's, and a nightclub called Metropolis. Of course, many more stores came and went in this mall, and if I were to go over the entire list, it would take forever, so I'll spare you that. The early 2000s weren't much better for the mall, but a new Showcase Cinema Theater complex with stadium seating would be added, and a new children's play place called Wonder Park. This brings us to 2002, the year that the Mills Corporation would buy the mall from Gator Investments and announce that the mall would undergo further development, along with a name change to Cincinnati Mills. The redevelopment would force many smaller independent businesses out of the mall. The changes would bring new paint, floors, signage, and a different theme for each wing of the mall. After a $70 million renovation project, the mall would reopen as Cincinnati Mills Mall in August of 2004. After the renovations under the Mills Corporation, the mall would begin to succeed for a little bit, just a little bit, as by 2006, tenancy rates would begin to slump again. From this point on, the mall would never find success, going through many ownership changes, name changes, as well as losing stores left and right. Kohl's, Bass Pro Shops, a children's entertainment center, and an arcade are the only things left in this mall, and it's really sad to see it so empty. What you're looking at right here is inside the Kohl's, and I can't remember if I've ever been inside of another Kohl's that had more than one level. I don't think I have. I think this is the only 2-level Kohl's that I've ever seen. Leave a comment down below if you've ever been to a Kohl's that has more than one level in it. But even the Kohl's won't be around much longer. As of August 28, 2020, they announced that they were relocating and would do so by March of 2021, leaving the Bass Pro Shops as the only remaining anchor. This clearly was the former Elder Beerman, and you can tell by the fancy marble that's on the outside. And if I remember right, this Elder Beerman became a Dillard's at some point, or it was a Dillard's at some point. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. For those of you that are fans of neon, these 2 shots will make you drool. OMG, this neon was amazing. I loved it. It's sad that so much of it was burnt out, but at least we could see some of it and get kind of an idea of what it used to be like. I think what they were going for here were piano keys. That was supposed to be like a piano with, the neon tubes being the keys. I don't even know what this was. This wasn't real stones. It was simulated, but it was just really, really weird. And, here you can see this is the inflatable bounce house children's play store that they had. And when was the last time you ever saw remnants of Media Play? I remember this store very vividly from the 90s. I bought my very first CD, which was In Sync. I bought it from Media Play back in Livonia, Michigan. Now, this place wasn't open when I visited, but when I came back a second time, it was or did appear to be open. It seems like it's some kind of like a party venue where they have bounce houses and all that kind of stuff inside for kids' birthday parties. I had to take a double take while I was editing this because I didn't even notice when I filmed this that the rope there says Steve & Barry's. When was the last time you saw anything Steve & Barry's? Wow, they closed back in 2009, or I should say they went out of business. I'm not quite sure what roller coaster that is. I don't believe it's from Kings Island, but I think that's what they were going for with that picture. They were trying to, tie Kings Island into the feel and the vibe of this part of the mall. The mall was originally divided up into neighborhoods, A, B, C, and so on. the thought here was that they would have one corridor that had higher end stores and be more of a fashion district, and then they would have another wing that would be more of your traditional mall fare, and then near the center court they would have more entertainment related things like a carousel and the small Ferris wheel and other things, and then they would have the food court. And this brings us to the center court, and boy do I love the theming here. They decided to go with the flying pigs, and that's because Cincinnati is known as the Flying Pigs. And that all has to do with a famous marathon race that happens in Cincinnati, I think once a year or so. I would have loved to see the fountains that were in this section, but unfortunately they had been drained and turned off. Right now we're looking at the corridor that leads off to the parking garage. There's P1 and P2, and you'll get a look at P2 here in a moment. And here you can begin to see what I was talking about. The mall looks like it's in really great condition except for a few areas like this, where they need to do some maintenance because clearly the roof is beginning to deteriorate and they're having leaks. If anyone knows where, when, and why they would be using strobe lights in this mall, I'd like to know. Leave a comment down below, because I couldn't think of why would they have strobe lights inside the food court, because that's where we're at. We're at the food court right now, and boy oh boy is the theming amazing. They went with sort of a nautical river theme because of the Ohio River that Cincinnati sits on, and it's pretty great. I love all the fish theming, and just the general vibe of it is amazing. So welcome to the Picnic on the River food court. This is the 8-screen Showcase Cinema, and unfortunately by the time I moved to Cincinnati in 2015, it had closed. I did have a chance to visit this dollar saver cinema called The Screens. Unfortunately, I didn't take advantage of that, and I wish I had. Welcome everyone to Neighborhood C, former home of the Biggs grocery store. And when was the last time you heard or saw a grocery store inside of a mall? I don't think I've ever been to a mall that had a grocery store in it, ever in my life, but I love the American flag theming in here. This is also the neighborhood that has the Pbs Kids Playground. And yes, the playground was rebranded as a Pbs Kids Playground at some point during the mall's history.
Speak with clarity, 'cause there's too much noise around us. Or maybe it's just me. There's trash out in the sea, yeah, but I'm just too dry to reach it. So speak sincerely.
Don't these lights just remind you of Panera Bread? That's what comes to mind when I see them. If you agree, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about these lights.
The sunlight shimmers, I'll show you the way. I can sense your hand, every particle in the air. We're connected somehow, I know you are there. And the way that you breathe underneath.
I visited the St. Louis Mills Mall and I have a video on that place. I'll put a link down in the description box below or a card if I can remember to do so. But they had a Pbs Kids Playground that looked very similar to this, and I can remember visiting the one in St. Louis going, gee, that looks awfully familiar. And it's pretty cool. I actually did enjoy getting to see this. I love all the bright colors and just how light it is, and it's just very inviting. I just wish it had been taken better care of and was in better condition. This was the very first mall I ever filmed, and you can tell, because it's not very refined. If you'd like for me to go back and refilm this mall and do a better job at it, then why not leave a comment down below and give the video a thumbs up. If we can get to 1,000 thumbs up, I'll go back and reshoot this video and do a second look at this mall. I've had a blast exploring the Cincinnati Mall, also known as the Forest Fair Village, and I hope you have too. If you'd like to support the work I'm doing here, then head on over to patreon.com/tiltedtripodmedia. Become a member for as little as $1 and gain access to all of my secret videos and much more. Once again, I'm your host, Chris, and I want to thank you for joining me here. Like, comment, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, give it a big thumbs up, and I'll see you on another episode of Urbex.